All right, you guys, let's talk about 10.3. 10.3 is talking about the theory of natural selection and basically how did that play a key role in evolution. This is taking Darwin's ideas, putting them into action. So when we talk about natural selection, we're talking about survival of the fittest. If you have the best traits to survive, you will. Because you have survived, you will now pass those traits on, repopulate the next generation. So, when we first started talking about Charles Darwin, we talked about his trip to the Galapagos Islands. And on the Galapagos Islands, he talked a lot about and noticed a lot of things in the golden finches and in the tortoises. He noticed short legs, long necks, long legs. He noticed different types of beaks that could eat insects and or worms and nuts. So he noticed a lot of variation. Remember, variation, difference in physical appearance. Now, he started also noticing variation in just everyday common plants and animals. Take a look around you. Is there variation around you? Absolutely there is. How did a lot of this variation get to be where it is today? Human population. We've picked the traits that we think are the best. We've continued on. Artificial selection is the process by which humans select the best traits, breed them together. We've done it for corn, we've done it for tomatoes, we do it with dogs. We pick out the two types of dogs we want, we mix them together, we have a new breed of dog. This is why purebreds go for so much money. They're purebreds. Okay, so artificial selection, the example you have at the bottom of your screen just takes the plain boring pigeon. Look at the 3 different types of pigeons that have come from that. This happens when you breed a pigeon with another species of bird. That's what's going on. Okay, now let's look at natural selection. Natural selection is where the environment determines what traits are best. The environment determines who survives and who doesn't. Natural selection is the key to success. This is where it comes in and says, if you have the best adaptations to survive, you will pass on those traits. That's natural selection. No one has interfered. It's all based off of your surroundings. Okay. Next 2 vocabulary words on this slide, they're just kind of feeder vocab words. Heritability just says that traits can be passed down. We've been talking about that in a couple chapters now. We've learned about genetics, we learned about traits getting passed from parents to offspring, and then it just keeps going generation after generation. So that's what heritability is. It's the ability to be inherited or passed on. Now, as Darwin kind of studied that, as he studied these variations, as he studied adaptations, he realized that some creatures are better suited to survive just naturally. They naturally have a better chance at survival because they can have more offspring than others. So, insert fitness. Fitness is not how fast you can run. Fitness is now a measure of your ability to produce more offspring than someone else. Now he looked at this and he said, here's my 4 key components to natural selection. And all of this ties right back into evolution. This is how he says species has evolved over time. First off, he said variation. He said that we all have a variety of traits. Overproduction. He said we produce more offspring than can survive, hoping that at least 1 or 2 of them survive to pass on our traits. A good example of that is the sea turtle. The green sea turtle goes on shore every year during mating season. It digs its hole and it lays probably 30 to 50 eggs. It hopes that out of 30 to 50 eggs, 10 turtles make it out to sea. It's overproduction. They're ensuring their success. A lot of species do that. Now think of species that don't do that. Higher mammals. Mammals don't do that because we care for our young. So you're going to notice that species that take care and provide for their young have less offspring at one time. Okay, adaptations. Adaptations go back to if you have a good trait, you will survive. If you are the fastest person when I say get on the line, you will win. You'll survive. Descent with modification is saying now that you've survived, now that the best traits have survived, you will pass those traits on. And eventually, over time, you will see modifications to the genetic makeup of the population. So, variation, different traits. Overproduction, more offspring than can survive. Adaptation, ability to survive because your traits allow you to survive. And descent with modification, over a longer period of time, genetic makeup of the population changes. Now, this is a very good key component to the theory of natural selection. It can only work on traits you currently have. Natural selection cannot just make up traits. It only exists on pre-existing traits. So, natural selection can act only on traits that you already have. Okay, let's look at the power note. I know these videos are pretty short, but there's not a whole lot to this chapter. It really is more discussion based. So if we look at the top and we think artificial selection, okay, humans select trait. Heritability. Traits can be passed on. Struggles for survival. Limited resources cause competition. Everything struggles to survive. If there were unlimited resources, we wouldn't have to evolve. Everything would be fine. We could keep on living. But that's not the case. There are limited resources. There isn't an overabundance of clean drinking water and food. You will fight to survive. Natural selection. Environment. Selects best traits. If you have the traits that allow you to survive in your environment, you will continue to pass them on. Variation, we've said it a lot. Different physical traits. Adaptation. Allows you to better survive. Those are the words we already knew. Now let's go to new words. Overproduction. Even if you didn't remember, break the word down. Overproduction. More offspring than can survive. You produce more. The turtle produces more eggs knowing they will not all survive. And descent with modification, over time, genetic makeup of population changes. All right, now you have officially covered Goal 2. 10.1 covered Goal 1, 10.2 and 10.3 make up Goal 2. If you have any questions over this, feel free to ask your biology teacher.